Coach Steve Sarkisian said quarterback Quinn Ewers is questionable to play this week with a strained oblique, and Michigan will start Alex Orji at quarterback against USC.
It's time. You know what time it is? Time. Game for Tuscaloosa's longest running sports show.
The biggest goal of our team,
especially in the first half,
we at Bama, we're trying to be the best. Always is to win a national championship.
Something cool to look back on.
We don't want to waste a failure.
You're inside the game.
John Mechie on the ground.
Appreciate your interest in the game.
On your home for Alabama sports.
And Alabama wins.
Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota. And now, here's your award-winning host, Ryan Fowler.
And a big good afternoon to you. Welcome into the game. T-Town Tide 100.9. We are the flagship home of Alabama Crimson Tide football, and we're going to be with you for the next 4 hours. We are getting ready for Ryan Williams and Jalen Milroe. That is the SEC Player of the Week. Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams. These two guys, obviously big stars at the University of Alabama. We're live in Tuscaloosa at T-Mobile, and we're going to be here all afternoon and even beyond the evening. We're going to be here all the way until 6 o'clock, but Jalen Milroe, Ryan Williams going to be arriving coming up around the 5 o'clock hour, 5:30 until 6:30. We're at the T-Mobile store at 15th Street and McFarland. And, man, we're having some fun. We're going to have some great giveaways, so come by, say hello, and support these guys. They had a big win over Wisconsin, and we're going to react to that. We'll do the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is sponsored by Daniel Moore. The bad and the ugly is sponsored by, let me see, who wants to sponsor this today? You wanted to go since I'm out here in a public location, I don't know if I want to do the Auburn cheerleaders like we normally do. Maybe we could do the Georgia offensive line. Maybe that's a part of it. So the bad and the ugly is sponsored by the Georgia offensive line. But Alabama got the job done. It was a 42-10 victory. We're going to take a lot of the good. And we might even do the good, the great, and the better, right? I mean, it just a great performance overall, coming off of a little bit of a sloppy game against South Florida. And now Alabama was able to find another cylinder when you look at total yards, 407 yards, 290 for Wisconsin. Defense did give up that long drive, right? That long drive was able to score a touchdown. But other than that, really an almost perfect performance. So we're going to have a lot of fun. And you know what? If you asked me 10 years ago, Ryan, one day you're going to be doing a remote and you're going to be featuring two current players at the University of Alabama, I might have looked at you and told you were crazy, but that is the world that we live in. That is the world of the NIL, right? It is the world where these athletes are able to take monetary compensation. And today, we're at T-Mobile. So, Bama fans, I know that this is a great Monday that we're going to be able to react. But if you want to come down to T-Mobile, the official partner of the Crimson Tide. We've got you covered. T-Mobile at the store right here on McFarland Boulevard. And I think most of you guys know exactly where this is located. But if you turn, let's say you're coming down McFarland headed westbound. You cross over 15th Street, and right there beside the two mattress stores, you'll find T-Mobile. And we have got plenty of parking here and a lot of excitement, a lot of anticipation for both of these two All-Stars to come in. Ryan Williams, what a great day. What a great Monday. I was praying that Alabama was going to win, but for more reasons. But Ryan Williams leading all teams in receiving, 4 for 78, the big touchdown, and looks like a young man that is 17 years of age, and he's playing like a guy that should be a senior, right? I mean, that's the way he looks. But we're down here, T-Mobile and 15th Street store on McFarland Boulevard, right past 15th Street. We're here all the way until 6:30. Where you can see Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams pose for pics. Bring something to sign, plus your chance to win great merchandise. We're going to be giving away some Alabama tickets, and we'll do that all day. So you can see the store here for great deals at T-Mobile. We are always powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota. TuscaloosaToyota.com, 3325 Skyland Boulevard, and online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. So we're going to do the good, the great, and the better. The good, the great, and the better. I kind of like that. The good, the great, and the better. I don't know how we can make a good, bad, and ugly, right? 42-10, impressive victory. And even though Tim Brando doesn't think so, did you guys see that? Tim Brando putting out his top 15. Alabama was nowhere listed in his top 15. We call that Alabama fatigue syndrome. There's no cure for it. You've just literally, once you got it, you're going to die with it. So Tim Brando not putting the University of Alabama in his top 15 at this point. he's risking his credibility because if you put that out there. But come by, say hello to us, and we're going to be broadcasting. We don't do a ton of remotes, but it's great to be able to come out with the folks and to go ahead and see this line. And the line's not developed quite yet, okay? But already people in line, literally right now. And I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 7 people right now in line for Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams. And, I hope we can get in line too. I'd like to be able to look at Jalen Milroe. I see him often in the football building, and to be able to highlight the success. 12 of 17, 196 yards, 3 touchdowns, completion percentage of 71. It earned him the chance to be called SEC Offensive Player of the Week. We're going to react to that, and when you look at some of the numbers, we'll go through some of the stats that Jalen Milroe is putting up, but not just a SEC Offensive Player of the Week, but also a young man, when you think about the numbers, tying a record that had stood for 20 years. When you look back at what Milroe was able to do, the first player in FBS player to contribute to multiple rushing and passing touchdowns in 3 consecutive games since 2012. Jordan Lynch and Johnny Manziel did it those consecutive years or consecutive games in that year. Milroe is now responsible for 84 of Alabama's 147 points this season. That's a 57.1%. Wow. His touchdown and points total are the most in the FBS. So we're going to have this young man here today. Milroe is the only player in school history with multiple passing and rushing touchdowns in 3 consecutive games. So we're going to highlight his strengths. We'll talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I can't wait to talk to you. Drew DeArmond is going to be a part of our show. We'll also talk with Martin Houston. We'll talk to Barrett Sallee, but we're going to have a ton of time for phone calls. Appreciate the folks out at T-Mobile for having us out here. A lot of things to talk about right here on The Game as we continue right here on the flagship home of Alabama Crimson Tide football, Tide at 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
It's that time of the month again as the September Alabama Restaurant Inspection Report has been released. In addition, Alabama defensive coordinator Kane Womack had some strong words to say following the Crimson Tide's 42-10 victory over Wisconsin, saying the Alabama defense was not dominant enough. And Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe was named SEC Player of the Week following over 270 yards of offense and 5 touchdowns against the Badgers. You can read about these stories and more.
You can get your shots together too. Ask your healthcare provider about getting this season's COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot if you're due for both, as recommended by the CDC. Sponsored by Pfizer. Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky this afternoon. Only a small chance of a shower through the evening hours. The high today 85, the low tonight 63. For tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, the high 87. And Wednesday, a sunny day with a high of 88. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
The Game with Ryan Fowler. Powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota. On your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Here on Tide at 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We are talking Alabama Crimson Tide football, and we're talking about an impressive victory over the Wisconsin Badgers, 42-10. 42-10. Alabama gets the job done, and we are awaiting the arrival of Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams. We're going to have a lot of fun today as we get ready for this game. Right now, we talked to Drew DeArmond, 97.7 The Zone up in Huntsville, Alabama. Drew DeArmond, how are you, my friend? Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
I have one thing to say. Free Bryce Young. Get him the hell out of Carolina, the worst organization in professional sports. Get him out of there. Demand a trade. He did not forget how to play quarterback. Look at Baker Mayfield. Look at Sam Darnold. Get him the hell out of there. PSA over.
Yeah. Well, okay, no doubt. Listen, Bryce Young, and I saw that news just a couple of minutes ago when you look at the Carolina Panthers, and this young man is one of the most talented quarterbacks that ever played at the University of Alabama. And when you look at Bryce, it's almost one of those things. By becoming the first pick, you're going to go to an organization that's struggling. Fair enough? I mean, it's just what it is. And so you've got to be able to dig your way out of it. And that's the part that when you step back a couple of minutes, it's so hard to do. You look back at other quarterbacks that have been able to get ready for this opportunity to go to the NFL and thinking about it. Hey, it's one of the topics. But, hey, let's go to Alabama for a couple of minutes, Drew. We're live at a location here, so if you hear a little background noise, just ignore it. We're getting ready for – I mean, think about this, Drew. If this is not the wake-up call, today I'm doing a radio show, and Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams are a part of it. Let that sink in. This is the world that we live in. That's a bye week. Now, Alabama fans, don't panic. They don't have practice today. They don't have practice tomorrow. They did not have practice yesterday. That doesn't mean they're not doing things. It's just they're getting a couple of days of rehab. But let's go back to 42-10, Wisconsin beating in Madison, Wisconsin. What was your big reaction?
Well, I just thought it was a complete performance. Certainly a couple things they could, clean up. But I thought offensively, Jalen Milroe continues to play at an elite level on the road. I thought he was in complete command. I mean, he was efficient. 12 of 17. He threw 3 touchdowns to 3 different receivers. He ran the football well. No turnovers for the offense. And the biggest thing we saw was the first 5 of the offensive line that I think the coaching staff always envisioned. And, when fall camp started. Now, due to injuries and the right tackle needing to grow up, it didn't happen, but right away. But, hey, they got them on the field against Wisconsin. They played at a very high level, and they're going to need them to play against the big bad dogs who are coming to town in, 2 weeks who haven't given up an offensive touchdown. So I thought they made some big-time improvements offensively. They're the most explosive group, I think, in the SEC. I don't give a care who Tennessee plays because they played absolutely nobody. When your head coach is onside kicking up 30, you can just tattoo Bush League across his forehead.
Drew, when you go back and you look at this offense, we heard it today from Kane Womack, which is the defensive coordinator, but he kind of illustrated to us that they've held back a lot on the defense. He said, we really haven't had to show a lot of our things. And then I think there was another question that kind of came up. I believe it was Nick Kelly that proposed the question and said, how do you judge what to pull back? And he went through that. He said, it's a little bit of a challenge, and we'll play some of the audio as we travel onward. But I go back to this particular moment, 3 games in, going into Georgia, how much of a benefit is it that they've not had to show a lot offensively or defense? Even though Kane Womack's a defense coordinator, I think you could apply the same to the offense. They've not showed anything thus far, or not showed a lot of their offense. There's still more left in the tank.
Well, there's still more left on both sides of the ball. I've been asked that on social media repeatedly. Have they shown everything offensively? I don't think they've come close to doing that. They haven't had a lot of shifts in the motions that you see or that you will see against high-level opponents. I don't think they've blitzed very much defensively, so I don't think they've shown a lot there either. And, of course, they're trying to get guys confident. The secondary has been rebuilt through the transfer portal and a lot of young freshmen. So you're trying to get their feet underneath them and play, with a lot of confidence. Unfortunately, he got injured, but Clay Rusaw is a redshirt freshman that, won the Wolf spot. He's trying to get comfortable as well. So they're trying to, and even L.C. Overton. He's a beast, Ryan. We saw what he did on Saturday, but he's in his first year at Alabama playing the bandit spot. So they've got a lot of new pieces, and so they're trying to get guys comfortable so they can play fast. And so I think it's the flow of the game thing, but they've been able to control all 3 football games defensively. I think, if you're Kane Womack, I think you wish that you'd probably forced a few more takeaways. They could, with the bouncing of the ball, they could have forced 2 or 3 more Saturday. Wisconsin was very fortunate in a couple of instances there when Alabama forced the ball, forced some fumbles and things of that nature. But I think the pass rush has been good. In certain cases, I think with the run fit, they probably were out of place a couple times and wanted to tackle better. But again, the bottom line is you're judged on how many points you give up, and Alabama only gave up 10 on Saturday. You know, they didn't even give up 300 yards of offense, and you can do all that and not show a lot. You know, that's certainly to your advantage. And I think Alabama's playing well defensively and offensively. I think they're getting more confident every game. And I know you'll probably ask Jalen Milroe this, but again, he's getting more confident in this new offensive system because it is new. And I think that the biggest thing I took out of that impressed me the most out of the game this past Saturday was the end of the half, because Alabama, you know, got the ball back with 38 seconds left. Mark Stoops would have took a knee and gone into the locker room. Alabama attacked, and they attacked with Ryan Williams, who's the best freshman wide receiver in college football, unless you're Tim Brando. And then, you know, he very next play, he after the huge completion to Williams, post corner perfect throw to Jeremy Bernard, and Jeremy Bernard's in the end zone at 21-3. And then you come out of the locker room, you drop the hammer with Jam Miller, and you go up 28-3, and it's game, set, match. Everybody can go jump around and then hit the exit. So I just thought Alabama played at a very high level.
All right, let's go back to the injury side of things, because even though, and I know there was a lot of buzz around, okay, what exactly are these injuries? Based on what Kalen DeBoer told us earlier, it sounds like that maybe they're not as severe, that maybe they're okay. I mean, he said Quay Russo is going to be able to come back at some point this week and be able to do some things later this week. Still don't know. The one question is Richard Young. That's the one that I don't think that a lot of people know. But Malachi Moore suffered a concussion. He should be good to go. He even talked about the progress that he's been able to make in a couple of days, but he is in the concussion protocol. But overall, it seemed pretty costly for Alabama. But here we're on a Monday afternoon. Seems like a little bit better news than maybe some bad news. The good news kind of overweighs that.
Well, I mean, I think Malachi is the one first and foremost. Luckily, they've got a bye. He suffered a concussion, running into his own teammate. Hopefully, he should be okay. Be back in the lineup for Georgia. His veteran presence at safety is going to be, very, very important in a game of that magnitude. And then, with Quay Russo, he came in with a bad ankle. The injury looked really bad when it happened, when he got rolled up, but it sounds like he injured, and I'll give Alex Scarborough credit. He was on my show this morning and reported, that it was an ankle and a knee. So, obviously probably a sprain in both cases. Hopefully he'll be back. He should be back sometime this season. Now, whether he's back for Georgia, I don't know. That would be something that would probably be a little dicey, but certainly he should be back. And so, and I know Jeff Allen and the medical staff will do a great job with him. Have not heard the severity, of Richard Young. I know I was told that he was in a boot, and so that's more encouraging than, being in a knee brace. But certainly, could he end up with a tightrope kind of situation with his ankle? We've been through those before, yes, and that would probably mean he'd be out a few weeks, because certainly Jalen Hurts was a few years ago with the same injury to a Tagovailoa. So, but again, when you're talking about a game against Georgia coming up in 2 weeks, Richard was running the ball well against Wisconsin, but this is going to be a Jam Miller just the same game, and they need both of those guys healthy and ready to roll. And I think those guys' explosiveness is going to help Alabama. Last year, certainly Alabama was effective running the ball with Jason McClellan and Roy Dell, but these two guys were more explosive, and that explosiveness certainly will be needed against the greatest team college football ever created.
It's going to be a big game, and I just heard a couple of minutes ago. This is a huge game, not only for a lot of different reasons, but there's also news out here that's breaking that Donald Trump will be in Tuscaloosa for the Georgia-Alabama game. So once again, returning to Bryant-Denny Stadium, according to Yellowhammer News. I want to make sure I get their quote. Mark Halperin looks like he is a couple different ways there. So he's a guy that is reporting that Donald Trump will go to Bryant-Denny Stadium for this Georgia game. Forget about that for just a couple of minutes, but look at this Georgia game. Should the confidence be more so now after Saturday's performance against Kentucky?
No, I mean, look, I never fall for things like that. I mean, I said this on my show this morning. Kentucky played a really good defensive game. They've got a good front. They've got a good defense. But, look, and they did a good job containing Georgia. But Georgia, in some cases, is still trying to find their feet underneath them. They had only played Tennessee Tech and Clemson, and we don't really know how good Clemson is yet. I think they're solid, certainly, and a good team. But Tennessee Tech, you don't get much of a test there. Georgia's still trying to replace Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey along, and then we know Trevor Etienne has not been completely healthy, he was also in the doghouse. So to speak, with an off the field incident, he's just now getting into the swing. He's more explosive, I think, than Juwan Edwards and also the young man Kendall Milton last year. So I think Georgia will play much better against Alabama. Carson Beck did not have his best game by any stretch, but he's a good quarterback who played well against Bama last year. And trust me, you're not going to play at your peak level every game, and they didn't have Michael Williams either, their best defensive lineman. I think Georgia will bring everything they have to the table. Ratledge may not be healthy enough to play on the OL, but Georgia will have all their guns blazing for the Tide. They will be completely locked in after 2 weeks, and you will see a different Georgia against Alabama. All that being said, I will say I like Alabama's offensive personnel better than Georgia's, including the quarterback. I think Alabama's more explosive at every spot. At least they've shown that thus far. And if Alabama can play solid defense, be assignment sound, be in the right gaps, and not give Georgia, any explosive plays or any busts, then I think Alabama's got a great chance of winning inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. I think Alabama's much more explosive offensively than Clemson, and while Georgia will definitely be the best team Alabama has seen, the Crimson Tide will far and away be better than Clemson, and it'll be an electric environment. There'll be a lot of, royalty in the house, including, you just mentioned, President Donald Trump. That's what I call him anyway, because at least he's got some common sense and would know how to lead this country. But I just think overall it's going to be electric. It'll be the best environment that Kalen DeBoer's probably ever coached in. No disrespect to the run they made at Washington last year, but I'm glad they've got 2 weeks to prepare and get healthy. It's going to be an Ali Frazier type of matchup like it always is, and I think the Crimson Tide matches up really well with the Dogs when you look at both teams' body of work coming into this game.
Big topic of conversation. Drew DeArmond, 97.7 The Zone. We're recapping a little Alabama, Wisconsin, but also looking ahead to Alabama and Georgia. Drew, I always appreciate you for jumping on for a couple of minutes and talking some Alabama Crimson Tide football. And hey, it's a lot of fun when you go get a win on the road. Listen, I understand Wisconsin's not the team that maybe we thought they were pregame or even when this game was scheduled, but you look at Wisconsin, hey, it's still on the road. It's the Big Ten, and you're able to go up and beat them, not just, by 3 or 4 points, but, the way that you beat them, that's a confidence boost. That's a momentum boost. The game of college football is a momentum game. Right now it feels like Alabama's got it under Kalen DeBoer. 3 games in. Now going into this Georgia bye week and getting ready for the Dogs to come up. I cannot imagine what September the 28th is going to be. This game was already off the charts, and if it is true that the 45th president of the United States is actually going to be back in Tuscaloosa for this game, that's another level. I'll be honest with you. When you look at the excitement of this game, because think about from a Georgia perspective, it's almost like they've got the pressure. I know Alabama's always going to have the pressure. But if Georgia doesn't beat Alabama in the year number 1 under Kalen DeBoer, then when will the Dogs ever be able to take down Alabama? I know that they won a national title a couple of years ago, but Alabama has been the Georgia Bulldogs' kryptonite. They were on their way to go three national titles in a row, and there was a roadblock that was put on them because of the Crimson Tide.
Well, I was told this weekend that because Nick Saban had retired, Alabama would never beat Georgia again. At least that was the gist that I heard. But obviously some of these millennial Georgia fans have never studied the history of the series when Coach Bryant was in Tuscaloosa, and even all the way back to the 1920s. I did apologize to the gentleman because I said they had, they had 16 more national championships to go before equaling the Tide. He said, well, it's actually 14. And then I apologized for not dusting off the VHS tape with Herschel Walker and for 1942. But I'm just saying, Alabama is the standard in college football, always will be the standard in college football. And then you can tell Ryan Williams when he gets into the house over there with you, Ryan, that we call him Magic here in Huntsville, Alabama. And we can't wait for him to match up against the Dogs.
Yeah, Drew, can you put it in words? And we're getting ready for Ryan Williams to arrive here at T-Mobile on McFarland Boulevard. And I know the fans are already starting to line up for him and Jalen Milroe. But, take a minute for Ryan Williams. Drew, we watch a lot of freshmen make impacts around here. We have for the last 17 years under Coach Saban. I can't think of one that made this quick of an impact, that is coming in the way that he did and the way that he's able to showcase his skills. And, as Larry Munson would say, speaking of the Dogs, he's only a freshman. And I didn't say it anywhere near the way that Larry Munson did, but you know the point. He's just a freshman.
Yeah, 4 touchdowns, and he's had 3 TDs of 32 yards or longer. And don't forget the big play made at the end of the half on that deep ball down the sideline. And then the one time he touched it on a punt return, he went 20 yards, nearly took that to the house. So, I don't think Kalen DeBoer in this offensive staff under Nick Sheridan has shown nearly what they can using Ryan Williams. And we've seen, how Kirby and the Dogs have been susceptible to teams that can throw the ball vertically, and it'll come down to physicality, though. Football is an inside-out game. Alabama won this game last year in the SEC championship game at the line of scrimmage. If they can give Jalen Milroe time, if they can certainly, and if the D-line under Freddie Roach can contain the Georgia run, and Alabama wins the game at the line of scrimmage, we'll see Deuce get loose, and we'll see him make a lot of plays, and we'll see the Alabama Crimson Tide beat the Dogs and make Kirby 1-6 against the Crimson Tide, and the domination continue in Tuscaloosa. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of great conversation, and I'm sure you're going to have a great time over at T-Mobile with QB1 and the best freshman wide receiver in the country.
Drew DeArmond, I appreciate you, man. Thank you, as always, for leading out every Monday at 2:15. Thank you for being a part of our show.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Tuscaloosa tied at 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports. We are the flagship home of Alabama Crimson Tide football, and we are awaiting the arrival of Jalen Milroe. Going to be in the 5 o'clock hour all the way until 6:30. So you guys thinking about driving by, and don't just drive by, don't blow your horn. We always get those, but come by and say hello to us. Come by and see Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams. These guys are scheduled right here in Tuscaloosa at T-Mobile McFarland Boulevard. And hey, when you talk about service and internet and all those great options, it is the quarterback at the University of Alabama, the SEC Offensive Player of the Week. We're going to dive into some phone calls right here. We're doing the good, the better, and the great, or the good, the great, and the better. The good sponsored by DanielMooreArt.com. DanielMooreArt.com. Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams right here. Let's go to Robert down in Mobile. Robert, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope you're having a great day.
Hey, man.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, well, first of all, let's keep President Trump in our prayers. It's getting really crazy with some things. There's still a big difference with Nick Saban and the board. I don't think Nick Saban would have ever allowed Ryan Williams, that young, to be as exposed to the public as the board wouldn't have let him be. So that's definitely a big difference. I think with freshmen hardly even say anything, could they? When Nick Saban was the coach, but it's different. That's not saying anything's better, and everyone's better than the other, but it's definitely different. The game was it came out pretty much like we expected. One of the few times it does come out like we expect. So that was nice. We just matched so well against Wisconsin, as we thought we would. So it wasn't. I guess the surprising thing is that there was no real surprises. You still see how we're doing on the injury front. Who got hurt and what's the latest status on the injury? Will you think will everyone be back by the time we play Georgia or not?
I think it's just too early to say on the injury side of things. When you look at these particular players, I think judged on what we were hearing on Saturday. Now I was talking to a few other people, and we're at a group media chat, and there's 4 or 5 of us, and we were talking, it might be this, it might be this. I was not kind of jumping off a cliff because my folks were telling me that maybe it wasn't as severe as maybe initially thought on the football field. Quay Russo is a guy that you're going to, I think a lot of people are going to grab to because you're kind of thin at that spot. Richard Young, you don't ever want to lose any type of player, but the running back position going to this Georgia game, unless there's other injuries, you feel like that this is a Justice Haynes, Jam Miller type game, right? I mean, this is one of those 1-2 punch. Yeah, you might be able to get Richard Young some reps, but then when you also back up and you take a look at Malachi Moore, the concussion protocol, as long as you're able to navigate that, you want to make sure that you protect the player and his health and overall status. But overall, Malachi Moore, it seems like there was more good news than there was bad news.
We'll definitely need him, because Beck will want to test our secondary. We'll definitely need him to make Beck maybe think twice about testing our secondary. I guess that's the only bad thing is we're still seeing a few guys, a few plays fly open or in the secondary. Fortunately, we've had quarterbacks that just haven't been able to hit them. But we don't want to live like that. So maybe we can, shore that up where where guys aren't flying free back there for as many plays as we've seen. It not the whole game, but it's significant enough to where if that quarterback hits it, that could turn the tide of the game. So we definitely need to clean that up. Merrill's doing a great job of spreading the ball around as far as passing. I know, Ryan Williams gets all the hype, but, you look at the actual stats. I mean, Merrill spread it around quite a bit. It wasn't just Williams catching everything. So, I mean, that's good.
Well, I think you saw, the
Williams.
other part, trying to get Jeremy Bernard involved in the receiving side of things. When you look at Jeremy Bernard, 3 catches, 55 yards, the 1 touchdown, the long of 26, but he was targeted 5 times. And really the yards after catch were pretty incredible too, right? 22 yards there. Ryan Williams, in comparison, had 28 yards on the yards after catch. So that's one of the things that when you kind of dive into and you set, the echo, this receiver core is deep. And you may, I'm not saying to have flavor of the week, but you could have, where you have, look at Josh Cuevas, the big touchdown, the tight end. See, I still think that's part of the offense that they have not been able to showcase. Still there.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. Hopefully, Cuevas showed that he's got some hands. That pass wasn't perfect, and he still hauled it in for us. So, let's see if we can show him a lot more love down the, maybe we can surprise Georgia with that in the next game. You weren't expecting him, were you? And we get to see a little bit more of that. But and of course, Jam Miller, I know a lot of people were talking that maybe Justice Haynes would, beat him out for running back one. Jam Miller is showing that not so fast. Because he's been putting on quite a season for himself right now. He's definitely been fun to watch.
You're gonna need these guys. You're gonna need both guys. When you look at Jam Miller, once again, we're talking about the receiver of the week. It could be the running back of the week, right? Jam Miller 9 carries for 71 yards. Justice Haynes 2 carries, 17 yards. But when you look at comparison on the averages, 7.9 and 8.5 yards per carry, you look at this 1-2 punch. Then you combine that with Jalen Milroe, 14 carries for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. There's a lot in this offense. There's a lot, and I think I go back to the first scrimmage. First scrimmage in Tuscaloosa under Kalen DeBoer in the fall. It was Alabama can beat you a lot of different ways. Okay, you want to cover our wide receivers? Plus, hey, we'll run it down your throat. Okay, you want to load the box? No problem. We'll throw it down the field. That's the part of this offense. And, if there's other elements of this offense, because you could probably talk to Jalen Milroe this afternoon if we get the opportunity to do so, he could probably tell you that there's things that he thinks that he could do better. I think when you look at this offense, there's more gas in the tank. They've not showed anything. They showed some things. I'm not saying anything is the right word, but there's still a lot of this offense that they've kept to themselves.
Yeah, and they're patient with the run. They're very patient with the run. That the touchdown, after the first turnover was almost all run, just one pass. That's extraordinary patience with the run. Hey, if it's working, then why break it up? They had one pass that was incomplete, but then another run. So, I was very impressed with that. And Tim Brando.
I think the aggressive – well, okay, let's go to Tim Brando, but I think the aggressiveness is something that we want to talk about. In the second quarter, when you saw Kalen DeBoer kind of take those shots, okay, when probably a Nick Saban would go let's get to halftime. Let's get to halftime, right? You're already up 21-3. At that point it would have just been, it'd have been 14-3, right? Yeah, it'd have been 14-3. Let's just get to the halftime. Let's clean up some of the things, get ready for the second half. Well, Kalen DeBoer went aggressive. And what did he say following in the game? He said, well, that's who we are. This is what we're going to do. We're not going to set on it and go, okay, well, there's just a couple seconds left. Let's not worry about it. That's the conversation when you look at it, that I think that this offense is going to show. But go back to Tim Brando, top 15. He's got his top 15 and no Alabama. What a fool.
I'm going to start calling him Tim Brainless. I used to think he just hated Nick Saban, and that fed his animosity towards Alabama. Now it's okay, dude. It's like it's deeper than that. I mean, what, you were driving through Alabama one day and some state trooper was rude to you or something and gave you a ticket? Is that what it is? I can't take you seriously.
Let me tell you what it is.
Like
it's the 17-year run in Tuscaloosa. It is beating LSU the times. He's an LSU guy. I mean, I don't think that's a secret. He's done a lot of great things for college football, but his bias against the University of Alabama continues to shine through. When you've got a top 15, listen, I know because I submit the top 16 teams in the SEC for the AJC, and I give 16 teams. And a couple of weeks ago, I had Auburn in the top 10 in the SEC. Now, I know I probably look like a fool, but I keep dropping them because I don't see, losing to California, they dropped a little bit. They've got a lot more losses on their schedule when you look at the Tigers. But from a standpoint of not having Alabama in the top 15, it's not a reflection on Alabama. It's a reflection on your ignorance.
What is your criteria? It's like, okay, I don't understand any criteria that you throw. You can't be talking about body of work, because Alabama's body of work is pretty much just as good as anybody else you have in the top 1, 2, 3, 4. So it can't be that. So your criteria would have to be on a neutral site when everything's equal. Okay, well, on a neutral site, who's more likely to be who? You can't. We know you don't believe what you're saying. So then you're just lying, and that's making your credibility just ridiculous to that point.
And it's his side of things. Welcome you right back into the game here in Tuscaloosa. We are the flagship home of Alabama Crimson Tide football, and the line is beginning to grow for Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams, set to arrive here at T-Mobile. Come by and see us, McFarland Boulevard. If you're traveling westbound, it's after you cross 15th Street. If you're traveling eastbound, it would be your left-hand side of the road. If you're traveling eastbound, you've got the great Sleep Outfitters here. I know because I've bought a mattress from those guys. You also got the Sleep Number store. If you go past the Fresh Market, then you went too far. But T-Mobile, we're going to be here all the way until 6:30. And, hey, it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's go to Greg in Athens, Alabama. Greg, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Hey, Ryan. Thank you for taking my call. Watching the game this last weekend, Alabama has done all the good it has running a base offense and defense without showing any misdirection on the offensive side or without any exotic pass or run stops or pass blitzes. And I think it sets us up well for what's coming in 2 weeks.
No, I think balance is the key. Balance. If you've got the balance, then you really create some opportunities for your offense to go up. It creates nightmares for the opposing defensive coordinator.
Yeah, and I just think that any team, not just Georgia, but any team is going to have problems trying to stop Alabama because Alabama can do the run and the pass equally well this year. And that's rare among a lot of teams. And, I just think Georgia is really set up to beat other teams, but when they play Alabama, they just can't get over the hump. It's like they're the bully in the schoolyard, and then they meet an equal that's truly equal, and they don't have the ability to overcome that shock factor.
Well, and I think if you look at Georgia, they've always struggled with a mobile quarterback. When you look at Jalen Milroe, he is no doubt can give you a lot of different things. He can throw the football down the field. He can push it down the field. When you think about mobile, extend the plays, how do we know that Georgia's always struggled? It's very simple, right? They've always struggled because it's the same system that Alabama, they're running the same system that Nick Saban did because Kirby Smart spent 9 years in Tuscaloosa. We've struggled with mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I think would be the team that we would top fear.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just going to be a really good season for us. Looking forward to see how everything evolves as they clean up some of the things they still want to work on. I think the good with James Burnip, he's been really instrumental this year with his punting and LT Overton, Tim Smith, and Keenan. And I think the offensive line deserves kudos for putting together a really cohesive performance. And appreciate you, Ryan. Have a great day and Roll Tide.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Absolutely appreciate you. DanielMooreArt.com. Celebrate those special moments, whether it's Jalen Milroe connecting and beating the Auburn Tigers, which set up the Fear the Thumb game later in November. We'll worry about the Auburn Tigers there. DanielMooreArt.com as well.
Good afternoon, Ryan. Everything is wonderful. As I told Jackson when he answered the phone, it is a victory Monday. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. It is a good day.
Man,
it is a good day.
I sat there Saturday morning/afternoon. I got up, got dressed like I would be going to tailgate, put the eye black on, put the jersey on, got amped up, and watched this game with great anticipation. And that offensive line, I got to shout them boys out. That was a better job than what we've seen these first couple of games because they got their starting 5 in there. And I got to shout them boys out.
I don't know if it's you're talking about the offensive line, and we're going to see at the right tackle spot. I thought Elijah Pritchett played well, but I thought Wilkin Formby, when he came in, I thought he played well. Getting Caden Proctor back gives you other options on the left tackle, on the right tackle side, but getting Caden Proctor back at left and protecting that blind side, it probably opened up a lot of different things. And I thought Caden Proctor really played well. Now, Wisconsin is not the SEC.
Right. And I had people yap at me at work today, yada, 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 yada. And I'm so glad. I know you want to take a couple days to talk about Wisconsin and talk about what happened, but I'm so glad we get 2 weeks to talk about these Bullpups because I live here and I got to deal with them all day, every day. But who's beat them the last 2 SEC title games and who is the reigning, undisputed SEC champions? The Alabama Crimson Tide. But anyway, I look forward to hearing what Jalen and Ryan both have to say. You get to talk to them and interview them and ask them questions. I love listening to any kind of player availabilities or coach availabilities anytime I can. And I'm excited because I was telling my buddy at work today, I said, dude, and I had to text Mitchell and J-Rob Saturday even, and I told him, I said, guys, this kid could finish top 10 in Heisman this year, but he could definitely win it next year or the year after that, his junior year. I believe that. This kid's a stud. This kid's a superstar, and he's only 17 right now, and that's crazy to think about, to watch him whenever he gets the ball in hand and he makes defenders miss.
Yeah, Ron Williams, a special football player. I think a lot of us, you hear reclassification, right? You're thinking, okay, well, how big of a role can he be? And then you start hearing getting here and what he's been able to do on 707. He's another level. And he may have a chance to rewrite some record books in Tuscaloosa.
Oh, for sure. I've got a graphic Mitchell sent me, and it shows where he stacks up in his first 3 games against Alabama greats, like Devontae, like Julio, like Amari, and some of these Alabama great receivers that we've had through the years. And it is just jaw-dropping to look and see what this kid has done through only 3 games in a fresh new season.
Yeah. When you look at him and able to step in, the speed, the route running, he glides like a deer. He looks like a guy that is effortless. And if you ever watch a deer, the reason I use that comparison is they don't look like they're using any effort to run. That's what Ryan Williams, he just glides through the air. Right. And now listen, there's going to be adjustments. Once he gets to the SEC, And we say that. There hasn't been so far. We said that there would be an adjustment to the college side of things. There has not been. So, it's going to be fun to watch him.
Oh, it's been great. And I thought Jalen,
as Larry Munson would always say, he's just a freshman.
Right. And I thought Jalen looked really well. 5 more touchdowns on his record on his side of things for what I hope to be. If he keeps this up, 2 on the ground, 2 in the air, 2 on the ground, 2 in the air kind of deal, and he keeps this up, Ryan, I think the Heisman Trophy this year could be his to lose. If he keeps that up,
well, okay, but Josh, hit the brakes just a little bit, okay? We're only 3 games in, okay?
Right?
We're 3 games in. You don't crown the Heisman winner in September.
I know. I'm just saying, if he keeps it up, though, performance after performance after performance. But would I be wrong? If he keeps it up, what he's done, would I be wrong?
No, I don't.
That's
listen, I think when you...
I'm not crowning him now. I'm just saying, if he keeps it up.
Okay. Well, and hey, we'll see. We'll see. But, I think you've got to like the start that Jalen has been able to put up.
For sure. And it depends on if he goes out.
There's still much more to this offense.
For sure. Because I cannot wait. I think Stephen had brought it up, or Greg had brought it up, about we haven't even seen the screen game that we've heard about. There's so much yet to see. I think Saturday in a week when we face the Bull Puppies, we're going to see the legit Alabama. We're going to see what we're capable of or what we're not capable of. We're going to see if we're what I believe we are legitimate contenders in this whole deal in the college football playoffs and possibly in the national title picture. I've been high on it since June. Once we hired Kalen DeBoer and once everything started, I have been through the roof, ready to elbow somebody off the top since June. Y'all know this, and I can't wait. Because whether it's this week or whether it's next week, I am prepping a little something special for on-air performance for the Bullpups to welcome them to Tuscaloosa.
Well, I guess bye-week party, is that what we want to call this? But we are here at T-Mobile on McFarland Boulevard. Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams going to be arriving here in Tuscaloosa. We're going to be having a lot of fun, and we're going to get ready for this big game. But we're also going to recap Alabama and Wisconsin. But you got Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams. The Alabama fans, as you can tell, you hear the outside noise. We're getting ready to welcome these 2 young men to to T-Mobile. They're already in Tuscaloosa, but after a great performance. Let's go to Barrett Sallee. Barrett, did I see you on social networks apologizing to fans earlier? I don't know. Maybe I didn't see what you did. What did you do?
Well, it's Mea Culpa Monday on College Football Smothered and Covered. So it's the day where I go back and tell people how stupid I am. So for Alabama, I said that the 16.5-point spread was disrespectful to Wisconsin because I thought Wisconsin was going to keep it closer.
Sure.
And I was wrong. It was disrespectful to Alabama. So there were a lot of Alabama fans who were mad at me, especially I don't even really go on Facebook all that much, but there were 60,000 comments on Facebook. And I was like, oh, okay, that thing went viral, and I had no idea because my wife didn't point it out to me until yesterday. So, I had to have my mea culpa. I was wrong about Alabama. I was wrong about Wisconsin. Thought Alabama would win. Thought it'd be closer. Thought they'd be a little uglier. And that was as far from ugly as you can possibly get.
And then when you hear a coordinator, now listen, we're not accustomed because you get programmed with Nick Saban for 17 years. Bye week Monday, nothing, right? Take the day off, media, no problem. Enjoy the bye week, no problem. Just, hey, have fun. And then all of a sudden when you get to Monday with Kalen DeBoer on a bye week, you go, no, you media folks are not taking the day off. We're going to get coordinators. And both coordinators talked about, well, they haven't showed everything from the offensive, defensive perspective. That may be a little bit of a scare tactic because this offense has got a lot of dynamics to you. I mean, they can beat you a lot of different ways. And I can only imagine that defensive coordinators in this league going, there's more left to Kalen DeBoer's offense? Yes, that answer is yes.
Yeah, I think it works both ways, right? Yeah, there's probably more. They haven't unleashed everything, nor did they need to. But yeah, it's also a scare tactic. You want Kirby Smart going into the bye week thinking, what is going to happen. And it's the same thing with Kirby, too. I'd love to know what that is. I mean, we've seen Ryan Williams emerge. That's fantastic. The secondary looks great. Granted, backup quarterback. I mean, I still think that anytime they look great, that's, anytime you can, get some information on what's happening in terms of the rebuilding process for certain position groups, it's a good thing. And I'm fascinated to see what is said publicly the next week, because I think you can over prepare. And I don't know if Kalen DeBoer has never been in a game like this. He's been in the national championship game, but this is a little different. Not saying it's bigger. It's just, this is a rivalry that has developed. There's a lot of a lot at stake, and we'll see if he has more in the tank. I'm sure he'll unleash whatever he's got in a week and a half in Tuscaloosa.
And as you look at it, this game even got bigger. I'm sure you've probably seen the reports. Donald Trump. You and I have been to a few games where Donald Trump is there. I think there was one over in the Mercedes-Benz Dome over in Atlanta, Georgia. And I think we were here when Alabama played LSU a couple of years ago. So I guess Alabama's 1-1 with his appearances. But,
Georgia's 0-1.
They are. That is right. Georgia's 0-1. That's right. So I don't know how you want to look at the trends, but that always adds to the environment. I mean, Barrett, can I come live with you the week of the Georgia-Alabama game? I mean, can you imagine what this town is going to be like? I mean, I'm already looking at tickets between the 40s, 50-yard line tickets, $1,500 for tickets.
Oh my God! It's ridiculous. I mean, that's and plus, like, between the 40s, actually you can see, but a lot of times in the stadium, you don't even need to be there. The better perspective is at home. You and I have been in two sporting events with the President of the United States, or former president. The Secret Service is interesting. Now, I think I wonder what it's going to be like now after all that's gone on. It's going to be a big game. That's obviously just goes without saying, but the extra attention, both behind the scenes and just from a publicity standpoint that he brings is interesting. And I don't know if you were with me walking in the tunnels at Mercedes-Benz, that national title game, but there were 3 different motorcades that came in. And I thought I was by the real one, and it was a dummy one. And I was like it's hard to navigate, but Alabama fans have been there before. They kind of know, how this sort of thing goes. But it's a different experience, man. I was at the Clemson LSU game, and the press box is the very, very top of the Superdome, but it's got those panel ceilings. And when he left, so he came in, the first quarter went by, and he left, apparently. And we're sitting there in the press box, and 2 dudes with sniper rifles just pop out of the ceiling, from literally right above us. And I almost stepped on my computer. I was like, whoa, did not expect this. It's an interesting experience for sure.
All right, look at it from a Georgia perspective, and I know you're an unbiased guy, but just remove the conversation that you're in Tuscaloosa. What should Georgia be concerned about with their own football team? Not trying to scout Alabama, looking ahead, how they're going to stop Jalen Milroe because they struggle with mobile quarterbacks. But when you look at the Georgia team, what do you see as their weaknesses that they need to fix in this bye week?
To me, I think it's the running game. I mean, first things first, I'm not really worried about what happened in Lexington for Georgia. They do that every year. Last year was Auburn. It's been Kentucky a couple times. It was Missouri once. I'm not worried about that. But to me, I never really have trusted Trevor Etienne as a 1A, because when you look at Georgia, when they're great, it's Zamir White and James Cook, or Todd Gurley and Keith Marshall, or Nick Chubb and Caleb King. It's always a really good 1-2 punch. I don't even think Trevor Etienne would be that 1B out of those groups. I think he's a decent running back, but they don't have that kind of duo. They don't have that kind of backfield. So that's one thing I would look at. And, going up against Alabama, I know you're not said not to worry about Alabama, but you need to have the ability to keep an offense on the sideline. And I don't know if they have that right now.
Yeah, see, that's the part when I look at Georgia, and they also have a pretty major injury on the offensive line. It looks like that.
Yeah.
And you had to help me with the name, but
he
went out of the game. Yeah, so he's not going to be back until later this season, correct?
That's what they're saying right now. And that would be bad news. There's no doubt. Now, Georgia has had offensive line issues the last year, and they've got guys who have started. So it's like one of those things where, you could have like 7 returning starters on the offensive line, but really only 3. If that makes sense. So they can theoretically work around that, but it's a loss. There's no doubt. It could be big.
So when you look at the defensive side of the ball, what's the strengths and weaknesses over there for the Dogs?
To me, the defensive front, if Michael Williams is healthy, is unbelievable. It's as disruptive as it's ever been. Now, Michael Williams has been banged up. I assume he'll be back or be near 100% for Alabama. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. I think from the secondary perspective, I think they're fine, although you've had moments where you just had brain lapses. I mean, they were fine against Brock Vandagriff, but it's Brock Vandagriff. We don't really know what he is. And after what happened against South Carolina, I don't think it's fair to assume that slowing him down is a big accomplishment. But, they had some dumb penalties back there, kind of like what happened with Georgia. With Alabama 2 weeks ago. You're kind of like scratching your head going, what are you guys doing? Like, this is not good. Like, this is not how you're supposed to operate. So I think discipline in the back end is something I need to work on. All in all, though, I mean, it's as complete of a Georgia team as it's ever been. I just think that right now there's tweaks that need to be made, and, they're like all things. There are steps that haven't been made that need to be made and probably will be made throughout the course of the season.
If you were voting Texas, Georgia #1, where would you cast your vote?
Oh, Texas. I've said Texas as the top team in the SEC since before the season. Yeah.
I'm just making sure you haven't changed that.
Yeah, I haven't changed it. I do think, I've said before the season, Texas is going undefeated and then losing to Georgia in the SEC championship. I've never come off of that. I think it's probably going to be that way this year as well. And that's not to say that Georgia is bad. I mean, just look at what Texas has done. I'm always fine with moving teams around in top 25 rankings on a week-by-week basis. Just because you put someone number 1 week doesn't mean they have to be there the next week, regardless. I think at this point, the body of work says that Texas should be number 1. And I don't really know the argument against that, to be honest with you, especially if it's in comparison to Georgia.
So when you look at this SEC, we've talked about Texas, we've talked about Alabama, we've talked about Georgia. Let's go to Tennessee just for a couple of minutes. Is this a byproduct of their schedule, or are you believing what's happening in Knoxville? I mean, can this be a team that could be a little bit of a surprise team here in 2024?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that team is legit. I mean, and everybody can say, especially early, they ain't played nobody, right? I'm not the biggest NC State guy, but that defense looked amazing. And look, I've said it for a long time. I don't think Grayson McCall is that good, but I think that moving forward, the ability to get pressure out of the front seven is just insane. So, that's a legit football team. And it's not just Nico. It's Dylan Sampson. It's everybody that goes along with that program. That is a legit football team. Again, you ain't played nobody is fine, but they actually have in NC State. And if that's a fringe top 25 team, still look at what they did to it.
So you dive into, I mean, man, there is so many different games. All right. So if I put you on the spot, I want to take you back because you said you needed a mulligan, with Alabama fans, that you upset them a little bit. All right. So now understanding that we're still 12 days away from Alabama, Georgia. If I said, Barrett, I'm going to put you on the spot, and even though you'll have a chance to redo your prediction next week, would you pick Alabama, Georgia to win here in Bryant-Denny Stadium?
Alabama. I pick Alabama to win.
So you would pick Alabama to beat Georgia right now? But you have
right
a chance
this very second, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really know what could change unless there's like a variable that develops over the next 12 days. Tate Ratledge status. Yeah, that could be a pretty big one. But right now I would pick Alabama to win.
Yeah, and you think about it from a Georgia perspective, because we looked at it the first part of this as a Georgia perspective. It almost feels like the pressure is on Georgia. It's not on Kalen DeBoer in year number 1, but I can only imagine if he would win this game, how that would be, because Alabama's been Georgia's kryptonite.
Oh, yeah. That would not sit well in my state. I tell you that.
No. I would love to do sports talk radio over there for one day, just to take phone calls, right? I mean, just to be able to say,
oh my goodness,
all right, roll it out. Barrett, I want to throw this back to you, and hey, just dive into the conversation when you look at everything that you're involved in.
Yeah, you can follow College Football Smothered and Covered. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit the notification button. You can listen to it on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. It was Mea Culpa Monday. That's where the Alabama Mea Culpa came from. Also apologize to Oregon fans for things I said about the Ducks last week. So got a good show up today. There's one every single day. So enjoy doing that. And then SiriusXM on Sundays, where the therapy session with myself and Tom Luganville on Channel 84, and writing for Outkick, and doing all kinds of stuff. Staying busy, that's for sure.
Yeah. Hey, have you heard from the Florida State fans on your Sunday show? I mean, because
they are not happy people.
I don't know if I can blame them. I don't know. It seems like there's deeper problems than just wow, Mike Norvell. Wow,
that was bad. But and I said I didn't want to make excuses. I was just playing devil's advocate. They have lost to 3 pretty good quarterbacks. I'm just saying. Like, it's bad. It's very bad. But Haynes King, Thomas Castellanos, and Seth Hennigan are pretty good. Tom and I always say this. You put the quarterback that Florida State faced on Florida State's roster, they're undefeated.
So to go back for just a couple of minutes, though, when you look back at the press conference, you think that was planned? You think somebody was trying to sabotage? Because when Mike Norvell stood at the podium, and for those who don't know, Mike Norvell was doing his post-game press conference at a media availability, and the fire alarm system was going off, and a voice came on. The building is on fire. The building is on fire. Please evacuate Florida State. And I mean, how can you plan that? But
it's
wow,
perfect.
Pretty.
It's perfect.
It was.
That had to be somebody. Like somebody pulled the lever on purpose. Had to be.
Yeah, had to be. Hey Barrett, appreciate you, man. Have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you too, Ryan.
Thank you. We'll continue with more of the game. T-Town Tide with Toby Mack. We're live at T-Mobile. We're awaiting Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams to arrive here at T-Mobile. If you get a chance, come on by. Bring something to get signed from an autograph side of things. When you look at the Alabama quarterback, Jalen Milroe, QB1, and able to go over to Wisconsin. We're going to talk about it right here with Martin Houston, 1992 national champion winning fullback at the University of Alabama. Martin Houston, how are you, my friend? Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
Doing well, sir. Glad to be in with you.
Hey, it's good to be on. Good to be on with you and talk a little Alabama Crimson Tide football. You lead us out every morning starting at 6 a.m. here on Tide 100.9. Just give me your big takeaways from Alabama's win. Just maybe number one takeaway, number two takeaway, and then we'll jump back into some questions. 42-10 against Wisconsin.
Yeah, don't want to take up all the conversation, Ryan, but I would say, first of all, you got the win. Number two is it's about as close as, with the exception of whether you started Pritchett or Formby, you had your offensive line. All year all spring, summer, they said that those two would kind of 1A, 1B. So I thought the biggest takeaway is you had your offensive line in for the first time, which, showed what the potential of this offense can be when it's clean. And so I thought that was good. I thought they put a lot of stuff on film for Georgia. Will they run Miro necessarily as much as they did Saturday. I don't know. But I do think that had we had this offensive line the first two games, they would have worked some of those plays already in. That makes sense.
Sure.
When you play one game, you have 20-something plays, and the next game you have a really bad, offensive performance. You don't get all the stuff in. And I think that there's some things that they wanted Georgia to be working on that they put behind that running game. I think there's some more stuff to come off of it. And then just overall, Ryan, the energy, the excitement, this team's response was all good. There's a lot more takeaways, but that would be the biggest things I would take away.
Yeah.
Let me say one other thing. And I didn't say this on my show, and I meant to, Ryan. Do you think Coach DeBoer, it's sometimes when I listen to him, it's almost like he's just amazed with the talent level that he has, but the culture and the commitment to be great with all that talent do you think that surprised him a little bit? Based on some of the ways.
You and I talked about this throughout the off season. It's like Kalen DeBoer has another toy box, right? It's waking up and you're going, hold on a minute, I got this and I got that and I got this and I got that. Oh yeah, and I've got this and it's things that he can do. We think we know what his offense is capable of. I don't think we do. I think that this is. We're just judging it based on what he's had in the past. I think his offense has a lot of dynamics. And one of the great things I always love to hear is when an offensive coordinator says, I'm willing to be flexible based on the talent and the skill set. To me, that's what separates a good one from a great one when you look at offensive direction, their MO. But,
Yeah, I would agree with that, Ryan, in the sense that it appears to me that we haven't got to see all of his offense, but I think his offense is varied, if that makes sense. I think he has shown his ability to have a dynamic run game, a dynamic passer, a deep ball passer, a West Coast passer. I mean, he's had the ability to do that. And I don't know that, to your point, I'm not sure that he's had the tools to do things. I can remember, never coaching at that level, of course, but I can remember when I had a kid that was kind of slow-footed. So there were certain plays it didn't even cross my mind to run. Then I got an athlete, and not only did the plays I would like to run, but the creativity to run more stuff. And I think that Jalen Milroe gives us that. Jam Miller scores his touchdown untouched, not because Jam Miller and the offensive line alone. It's because when Jalen Milroe faked the ball, we had just ran him a couple times, and they were all keyed on him. Jam went right up the middle untouched. And that's the type of thing that I think that we're going to see this offense grow more and more.
Well, and Kane Womack said earlier today, the defensive coordinator for the University of Alabama, he said, guys, we've not really talked about his defense. He said, we really haven't showed everything. He said, once we realize, and he didn't say this in this, I'm paraphrasing, but what they're saying is once they thought the game was won, they kind of pulled back. He said, we've not showed everything. We feel like that there's a lot more to our offense than what our defense than what we've showed. I think you can apply what Kane Womack said to the the offensive side of the football. That, okay, let's put some things on tape, but let's also not show everything. And
Ryan, the middle of the field, we didn't even try to attack the middle of the field Saturday. We sent one play down the hash and it was a touchdown. Everything else was kind of outside, quick, I think there's passes off of the Jalen sweep. I think there's passes off of the RPO run. I think instead of a triple option, I think we actually probably got a quadruple. And I know that sounds crazy, Ryan, but I believe that we're going to see a play, if necessary, where a fake it to jam. Jalen is rolling out where he could run it. There's a receiver that's over in the flat that he could toss it to, and then you're going to be dragging a guy across the back side down the field. Because Jalen Milroe's arm is strong enough to make that throw, and the threat of him coming up on the edge is going to pull that corner and that safety up. So I just think, to your point, I don't think we've ran the second and third play off of pretty much anything we've shown. And if you go back and watch Washington, they were always building on their play calling. They would run this play and then they run this play, but they really were running it to get to that third play in the stack. And I don't think we've got to see that, partly because, how many times have we scored on two plays or less? We have about eight drives where we only got two plays.
Well, that was my next question, so it's a perfect segue. Let's go to right before the halftime break. When you step back and you look at the way that they played that in the second quarter, okay, Nick Saban would have probably said, you know what, 14-3, I'm okay. Let's get to the locker room. 1st and 10, drive started. You saw them take two plays, get down the field, and score a touchdown. And Kalen DeBoer was asked about that in the post-game press conferences, and he said, well, we're going to be aggressive. That's who our MO is. We're going to be aggressive. So, To me, that's another sign, because you saw Jalen Milroe, Ryan Williams, 47 yards. Then Jalen Milroe to Jeremy Bernard, 26 yards touchdown. And we're talking about 27 seconds to go. The Alabama drive started with 36 seconds, but only took 27 seconds to score.
Yeah, I love it when he said, we're going to be aggressive. Not we were aggressive on that drive. We're going to be aggressive. Right, the other part, it was probably about 2 minutes. I don't know if you had the audio, about 2 minutes and, I think maybe 14 or so seconds in to the clip. He said, whew. And he hinted at this at the end of the last game about the last 6 minutes, and then he picked up on it this time. He said, ooh, when the O-line plays well, it's so good because you can really get into your play call. Which tells me this is the first game that he's even felt like they've even went into their playbook. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
I do. No. That's the part that's scary. Like, if you're Georgia, okay, let's just take Kalen DeBoer out of the formula. Let's just say that Nick Saban is still in Tuscaloosa, okay? Let's just say, okay, you've got right now, when you look at Nick Saban is still here, Georgia would be worried about a mobile quarterback by the name of Jalen Milroe. Now you've got another element of that when you look at this offense. As you said, we don't know. We think we know what Kalen DeBoer wants to do. If you're Georgia, how do you prepare? Yeah, I know how you prepare for this, but you already understand that Jalen Milroe type players is your kryptonite. It's your weakness. How do I know? Because we watched it on the 3-4 defense that Nick Saban ran here, and that was always Alabama's kryptonite. Mobile quarterbacks that can extend the play. Now you're adding another dynamic to this, and you've opened up this passing attack.
Yeah, the only thing that I hate Saturday was that Kentucky had success. I really wish they had came in and not be on edge and had a wake up call. But I agree with you. I think that when you look at this offense and You look at what has traditionally given Nick Saban, Kirby Smart issues. We have that on steroids. I mean, Ryan, there are no. Georgia may be the most talented. I'm not sure that that's the case, but there's no one at Georgia that strikes fear into you as an offensive team when we're on offense. I mean, who's their go-to guy?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, I mean, we just talked about that a couple of minutes ago. The alone sustained drives are not there for the Dogs. I mean, this is not your typical Georgia offense that we've seen in the past.
Right. And here's the question I have, Ryan. Have you watched Georgia? Have you watched number 32 play for Georgia? Chandler.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, but I mean, the only Georgia game, because when you're at the press box, you see very little. The only Georgia game that I saw was the one against Kentucky. That's the only game that I've watched from start to finish.
And why Kentucky only did it one time, I don't know. And why the officials let him get away with it when he just about mugged the tight end, I don't know. But here's my thing. Because my daughter's an athletic trainer over there, I've watched them, every game. And it's not the Georgia of old. Even though they had 5 starters coming back on the offensive line, they wore Clemson down on the defensive side of the ball and had much success, but they only got 3 points in the first half. They only got, 3 points against Kentucky in the first half. They didn't wear Kentucky down, and they lost their, best offensive lineman. Number 2 is they don't have a Brock Bowers. He doesn't have that blanket, that safety net that he depended on last year, Ryan, and that's number 2. And it usually takes, even if you go back and look, Georgia has been fortunate in the last few years under Kirby that they did not play any tough matchups like we did with Texas last year. They've not had those types of games early in the season, and they've always struggled early in the season. And this is still an early game to me. But the other side of this, Ryan, do you think we intentionally stayed away from the middle of the field? Because when I look at Georgia's defense, their linebackers in pass coverage, who was it that we had a few years, moons ago? Number 33 from Ohio.
Anthony Jennings? Trey DePriest?
Trey DePriest.
Remember, Martin, you took me way back, man. I was going 33. Anthony Jennings? No. Okay, Trey DePriest, yes.
You remember that was a third down waiting to happen?
I do.
That's what they have at linebacker. And I'm not being ugly. I'm just saying. And when I brought that up today, I don't know if you know Kennington or not. Kennington is a Georgia grad and from that area. And he said the fans are having a fit because he's playing. They're screaming, "Get him out of there! He's gonna kill us somewhere." And I think that we intentionally showed nothing in the middle of the field because we know that that's somewhere that we can exploit in this game against Georgia.
Martin, I want to look ahead to this big game, okay? For one, when you look at Georgia, if there is an advantage, it's being in Athens. You're being immune to a lot of the build-up for this game. Yeah, you've got 2 weeks to hear how great Alabama is, and you have 2 weeks to hear how bad you played against Kentucky. You get a chance to clean that up. But there's going to be a lot of distractions in Tuscaloosa. I mean, can you imagine what next week is going to be like from a crowd standpoint? Martin, this thing may set records when we talk about prices of tickets. I mean, I looked a couple of minutes ago, and we're talking about nosebleed seats. I mean, bad seats. $350, $400. If you want to sit down in the 40s, it's going to cost you $1,500. I mean, now that these. These tickets
Don't
may
tell me
adjust.
that, Ryan. My kids may not like me.
What do you mean?
I might steal their inheritance.
Oh, yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Let it rip. So, I mean, one guy called in early and said, I'm not sure I could sell a kidney for an Alabama ticket. I believe he's probably dead on the money. But when you look at this, it's going to be one of those. I mean, and if you've not seen, President Trump is actually going to be here as well. That was just announced a couple of hours ago via a press release. But I made this prediction 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's not, it doesn't take a molecular engineer to go, Georgia's a swing state. He obviously needs to do good. How do you do that? Well, you go to the Alabama-Georgia game, and you get a lot of publicity for being at that game. And I know people are already reacting like, oh, no, the security that it takes to get in, and especially with some of the events, yesterday and the, attempted assassination on him, not once but twice. In a ball game?
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
But, how as a player do you block out of that out? Because I don't know if you can.
Well, Ryan, and I think, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I think we'll be prepared for it because I contributed part of USF to early craziness when the opponent doesn't match the craziness and the distraction. No one talked about this. I think that team was distracted last week because of and not anything that Coach Saban did wrong, but just the honoring of Coach Saban and all of the former players being back in town and all of that. I think that threw the team off a little bit. And I think as a result of that, it will help them be more, as Coach DeBoer put it this week, business-like and understanding that they can't, they can't get caught up in it. So in one way, I think it's going to be one of the craziest games we've ever seen, Ryan, in terms of and I didn't know anything about President Trump coming. I think it's going to be just crazy. But I think that in some ways may go to Alabama's advantage, Ryan, is because they're going to have to really, really focus this week to be ready.
One of the big topics that we'll be talking about as we get ready for this Alabama-Georgia game. We've got a few days that we can kind of relax a little bit, chew on this Wisconsin game, but also get ready. And, it seems like on an injury front, the good news maybe a little bit more than the bad news when you think about it. That's because coming out of that game, you're like, okay, wow, how many, this season's already starting to, injuries are going to be one of those. How can you navigate this? How do you navigate these injuries? Well, looks like you might have got a little bit better news rather than just, negative news. So that's one of the topics when you think about it. So a lot of things.
Have we heard anything on Quay Russaw? I have not heard. I've been out.
According to Kalen DeBoer, he's going to be able to do some things later this week. And there was a lot of buzz that it was a lot severe there. Now, listen, some of that could be coach talk, right? Let's not kid ourselves. We're not at practice. Unless we have a helicopter that we can fly over the facility, then that's one of the topics that you look at. So it could be coach talk. We're still learning DeBoer, but so far so good. He's been very transparent with us. So a lot of fun. But Martin Houston, 6 a.m. every morning right here on Tide 100.9. Tide 100.9. The Martin Houston Show with him and Xavier right here on Tide 100.9. Martin, I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, Ryan. And if I could, man, I'd like to tell, I had the big career change, unexpected. Got a lot of things going, still working through it. But if people want to find out everything that I'm doing, they can go to empowermentstrategy.com. That's the letter M, empowermentstrategy.com. And I've gotten my leadership training and stuff set up, and I've also got my real estate license set up. So if anybody's out there looking to buy a home or list a home, I'm partnered with Realty One Group Legend and would love the opportunity to do that. so they can just shoot me a phone call at 205-826-1381 or shoot me an email at mhoustonbankingandrealestate@gmail.com.
I will also add this to it. Pete Thamel is now reporting that Tyler Van Dyke, the Wisconsin quarterback that Alabama knocked out in that first drive, he is going to miss the remaining part of the 2024 season after suffering an injury. According to Pete Thamel, looks like it is a torn ACL. So, the price to play the University of Alabama. I mean, Martin, the non-conference list goes on and on and on. I mean, it goes back to DeAndre Francois in Florida State. I mean, you just go through the list of quarterbacks. I can imagine this is going to get harder for Alabama to sign non-conference opponents. They may not need any with strength of schedule anymore because it's 12-team playoff. But, I mean, could you imagine an athletic director like Greg Byrne calling up, hey, you want to play Alabama? No. Call somebody else, man. You want to call another guy. You want to play Alabama? No, that's okay. No thanks.
They used to already do that, and this is only going to make it worse. And if DeBoer fools around and beats Georgia, just let this sink in, Ryan. I know we'll talk about it next week, but Georgia is 49-2 in their last 51 games.
And those two are?
Alabama. So if if DeBoer and they're 49-3, this will be a dynasty.
That's why I think the pressure's on Georgia.
Right. This will be a dynasty killer, Ryan. Let's just think
it will be.
Because I told someone, if we beat Georgia next week, it means that the only reason you have been dominant is you haven't had Alabama on your schedule.
Yep.
You just got lucky and didn't have to play Alabama.
Hey, Martin, I always appreciate you, man. Thank you again for being a part of our show, and we'll talk very, very soon. Thank you, man.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, we are the flagship home of Alabama Crimson Tide football, and we want to thank T-Mobile for having us out. The line is made it down about a block and a half. It's 2 blocks long, the Alabama line. But if you want to get here and get Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams, still time to do that. But I would hurry, not try to cause a traffic jam in Tuscaloosa, but, they're going to be here in the 5 o'clock hour. They'll be leaving at 6:30. So they got about an hour, to be able to sign autographs, take a few photos, and, hey, your chance. The first 200 fans, get a neck cooling fan. And, that's courtesy of our friends at T-Mobile. We're right here on McFarland Boulevard. Come by and see us. And, it's good to see these Alabama fans out on a Monday, but, wow. What an event. Jalen Milroe, Ryan Williams able to showcase their skill set. A lot of fun to be able to think about this. Let's go back to Kalen DeBoer talking about being aggressive right there at the second quarter. Let's go back and listen to Kalen DeBoer talking about with 36 seconds to go, and instead of taking a knee or trying to get to the halftime locker room, Kalen DeBoer talked about being aggressive. Here it is.
We had, 36 seconds. You got a field goal kicker you believe in. And I think 3 timeouts, if I remember right. So you got a lot working for you. We get any type of gain at all, and we're in bounds. We're going to use the timeout there and see if we can get a first down or two. And the guys just went out and made a play. Great time in the pocket. I know Jalen, I think, got hit a little bit as he was making the throw, but anticipation, I think you saw, not to break down the play, because I know that's not the question, but I think you saw a trust and anticipation in Jalen on that throw as Ryan is just taking off. The throw is being made. Good read of the defense, and Ryan doing his thing again. Set us up for another explosive, Germ's the first read on the play. There's other guys that I think were coming into windows that we could have hit as well. But it all started with protection on both those plays. And when you have confidence in the guys up front and protect your quarterback, and a quarterback that's going to make smart decisions, I've been overcoaching those probably early on with Jalen to take care of it in this situation or that. The more and more, it's just these little blurps that I'm giving him, and he's on the same page. And so that's part of the progression of us working together more and more. The progression of now you take that to the film room and talk about why we were aggressive in that moment, and then seeing it pay off. It just gives your team a lot of confidence because the defense knows that anytime, if we just give the ball to the offense, whether it's off a takeaway and we have red zone, or two minute drill, just a lot of confidence that goes back and forth in playing good team football.
All right, so there it is. That is Kalen DeBoer talking about the aggressiveness. All right, so we're going right back to phone calls. Jared in Dallas, Texas, Super Joe, Jumbo. Hey, we welcome you right back into the game. Here in Tuscaloosa, we're live at T-Mobile, and we're getting ready for the arrival of Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams. We've been broadcasting here for about 2.5 hours, and these Alabama fans have heard the message because they have begun to wrap around the building. QB1 and wide receiver, all-star freshman Ryan Williams. Ryan Williams is going to be here, and that is going to be the topic that we'll dive into. We're going to have a lot of fun. Let's go to Super Joe. Super Joe, you're in the game. I hope all is well.
What's up, Pat? How you feeling, man?
Man, I'm great. I hope you are as well.
Man, I'll tell you what, I was in there just, I was kind of stopped by your old building and everything and that stuff. I know we kind of text, but man, I'll tell you what though, man, I'm going to give you some good and the bad ugly. The good news, Alabama won, spontaneous. But, it's bad how they judged the defense like they did because we got some turnovers, and the ugly is the penalties and the injuries.
Well, and hopefully the injuries are going to be something that they're okay with.
Yeah, because I didn't hear no season-ending injuries, so I didn't hear that. So that sounds like a plus so far. But bangs and bruises are going to happen in football. So, and to be optimistic, we got a rest coming up this week. So, and I believe you will see me at the Alabama and the Georgia game. So I'll be out there with you and Kit Kat, and I'll be out there.
You already got tickets?
No, I'm gonna stand there watching on screen. Them tickets too dang expensive. I watch it on screen. Forget that.
So let's go. We're doing the good, sponsored by DanielMooreArt.com. DanielMooreArt.com. What do you think?
Well, I'm going to say like this, what Daniel Moore. Oh, speaking of Daniel Moore, I got the calendar, the 2025, come to think of it.
Well, super cool. Yeah, that's pretty awesome, featuring Nick Saban.
Oh, yeah, sure enough. And I'm the type of guy to get my calendar a little bit ahead of time. That's what I like to do. And get it ahead of time. That way, boom, once I hit New Year's Eve, I'll change my calendar a day before the month start, the new month start. That way, by the time I wake up, whoop, you're already on the case. And so then I've already made arrangements. The way I believe Alabama's going to whip Georgia because the defense is going to be better and the offense is going to still be spontaneous. And I'll say it like this. Because the way Georgia struggled against Kentucky, that right then and there tells me something. Georgia might not be what you think. They may not be.
Super Joe, are you ready to go ahead and predict this? You feel like you're leaning to an Alabama win? Is this where we're at?
Yeah, we're on an Alabama win. Yeah, we can win about 20 or 17-20.
Okay. So
we can win.
So what'd you think of the Wisconsin game other than the injuries?
Well, I'm going to say like that. We definitely handled it. We gave Wisconsin a good butt whooping like I thought we would. And then one thing about Kalen DeBoer, it's like there's more than
their coach agrees with you. He told his team, if you guys have never had your butt whipped, you just did.
Yeah, he did say that, and I think there's a lot more Kellen Boyd than meets the eye because he didn't show all his skills, and because Kellen DeBoer always got so much plans on his offense, and it was some kinks to get out the first two games and everything. I know we wasn't pleased with that. We wasn't pleased with that second loss, with that Florida win, that second game, and I know how. We don't beat a team 50-something to nothing, but we did manage to keep on. We did manage to hold them 10 points. Wisconsin, that's supposed to be a big, tough Big Ten team. So, I don't see what the real gripe is. That we got interceptions, we got turnovers. We kept them at a low score. So Alabama defense didn't play up to standard. I say we did play pretty much up to standard. I mean, we get the impression that every team is going to come out here and tuck its tail when we come to town and play us. Other teams want to win, too. So we got to really low up on our criticism because sometimes, you know, you can sometimes set expectations where somebody's brain can bust. Or better yet, I believe the criticism and expectation are going to increase. I do believe. Now, it gives me the impression that Kellen DeBoer is going to want to get out of here after his contract is up. Because, in some case, we do push people out the door. Because everybody's not going to, don't get me wrong, I understand Alabama is not a place for no amateur coach. We understand that because we're a national championship caliber school, and that's the mentality that we have. But I'm going to be honest with you, nobody's going to get up here and withstand the time that Coach Bryant or Coach Saban did. Ain't no coach out here going to be doing that these days. I mean, Kellen DeBoer, if he lasts for 5 to 7 years, this man done good. And with Kellen DeBoer's, record of winning, I'll say 2 to 3 national championships, but he'll probably be here just maybe as long as Gene Stallings, maybe a little longer. But I don't think he ain't going to be here no decade. I doubt that. Because I'm just gonna keep this real honest with you. I mean, the expectation, is probably right next door to the lake of fire. The expectation is hell. And I mean, every coach that comes to a new program will always rather clean up a program, clean up the dog monkey crap, than keep the bar raised. It's a lot more harder keeping that bar raised than it is cleaning up monkey crap.
I got you.
Because when you keep that bar.
So now, how big can this Georgia-Alabama game get? I mean, Donald Trump's already announced that he's coming to the game. Super Joe, you just announced you're coming to the game. I mean, anybody else going to come to the game?
Yeah, my neighbor down the street, his son got some tickets.
Neighbor. Okay.
I have a neighbor down the street, his son got some tickets, and I think there's some other people, so I'm going to probably sit out there with you and Kid Kat a little bit, jaw jack with y'all, and everything.
Well, yeah. Are you excited about President Trump coming to town, Super Joe?
Yeah, I just hope the assassin's not out there. I just hope the sniper's not out there.
Well, I mean, you being a big fan, I mean, you may be sitting in his box.
Well, that could be. Anything's possible.
I mean, he's looking for votes.
He's looking for votes. Okay.
So I mean,
I'll be honest with you. I don't trust Kamala Harris. I don't trust Harris. I don't trust Harris.
Why?
Because you know why? Because for one here, she's with that stuff. Okay, it's because I just don't think she has the caliber. And second, she's into that. She supports that Sodom and Gomorrah relationships and marriage. I don't support that. I don't support no gay marriage. I'll tell anybody, I have no respect for gay marriage or gay relationships. I don't. Okay. Even if a woman kisses a woman, I still say yuck.
Okay. I got it, Super Joe. Well, thank you, man. All right, we welcome you back. We're awaiting the arrival of Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams. These guys are going to be here. That is... it is the conversation when you look at it. It's a lot of fun. T-Mobile, McFarland Boulevard is the greatest time of the year. Kickoff is here. Football is officially back. Hi, everyone. It's Ryan Fowler. Let me tell you about Underdog Fantasy. It is the best play in fantasy sports. We've got Monday Night Football. You can do higher or lower, and you can win 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower in your favorite player stats, including touchdowns, passing yards, and more. I've been making my picks on Underdog Fantasy. The app is easy, fun, and I have been winning. Just head over to Underdog, simple to use mobile app, and UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with the promo code Fowler. That is Fowler. Underdog will give you a free pick just to use on your first Cash Champions entry, plus $1,000 in bonus cash. When you make your deposit, that's Underdog Fantasy promo code Fowler. Claim with your new customer special a free pick and your deposit offer must be 19 in the great state of Alabama, present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms do apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or... All right, let's go to Jumbo. Jumbo, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well. Hey, Jumbo. All right, yeah, go ahead, Jumbo.
Hey, man, what's up?
Yeah, good. I hope you're having a great day.
Yeah, I enjoyed being out there. I made an appearance. I kind of announced my presence with authority when I got there, but the only thing is I didn't have my walk-up music.
Yeah, it's
actually some guys took a picture with me, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, super cool. Super cool.
I'm a hound dog. I love the attention.
Well, hey, I don't know if you got out of here a couple of hours ago. The line wraps around the building, down 15th Street, and across McFarland Boulevard. I mean, it's pretty wild how Alabama fans have showed up to support the quarterback and the wide receiver here at T-Mobile. So a lot of
I thought it was a good crowd when I left. I left at 4:30, and it was probably about 2.5, 3 blocks long, like you said. So. When I left, and now that we've gotten closer, of course, it's going to be more people there, but they'll have a good time, and it's a good thing that's being done here to let the fans actually get to meet the players, and especially Ryan Winds. I like to meet him. Remarkable kid. He's going to be a major contributor on Sundays one day, but we got him for right now, so I'm pretty sure we're going to use him to the best of his ability.
Yeah. Well, super cool. Super cool. Man, that's pretty awesome. Hey, Jumbo, go the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is sponsored by Daniel Moore, and the bad and the ugly is sponsored by the Auburn Cheerleaders.
Okay. The good, man, it has to be the offensive line. I was so proud of those guys Saturday. They played fantastic. I think we had one, maybe two false start calls. But we had no holding penalties, except for one on defense, and I think there was a pass interference on defense. But, man, they come together. They played well. And I'm going to tell everybody, you may think I'm crazy, but the offensive line is the key to a good offense. And you saw what would happen if they give Melrose time. He picked them apart. I mean, man, you really can't say anything bad about the game except for the fact that 4 penalties. I mean, it's better than 13 or 14 that we had the week before. And other than that, I guess the ugly would, okay, Auburn Cheerleaders, I'll buy that. So,
all right.
You know how I'm about Auburn anyway. But I'm not going to go Super Joe on you. I'm going to keep it clean.
Cool. Super cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Jumbo.
All right. Listen, don't worry about Georgia. We got this. What did I tell you guys? We're going to do the whole thing. We're going to win this whole thing. It's ours. Don't worry about Georgia. Georgia knows what they got to do, and they're not going to do it. So we're going to take care of business in 2 weeks, and we'll go from there.
Gotcha.
Hey.
Thank you. Thank you, Jumbo. Appreciate you. Let's continue, and let's go to Joseph. Joseph, good afternoon. You're in the game. Hey, Joseph. Okay, could not hear that. Jackson, fire off the Kalen DeBoer opening clip, then we'll go right back to phone calls here in just a couple of seconds.
Yeah, I mean, great players, great coaching staff around you is always what makes it all go. People who are comfortable, being alongside with you in these big games and these big, get an SEC play. They're all going to be big, and so players make plays, and it's our job to just continue to put them in the best spot, help them continue to gain confidence. Remind them that the preparation is what's going to lead to their success, and just a belief in what we do, how we do it. That's to me football. That's how you're successful in anything, and so that's what we'll do here with the bye week. Use a couple days here to just relax as far as kind of decompress a little bit. 7 weeks now these guys have been going. I know it's only 3 games in the season, but they've been going for 7 weeks as of tomorrow when it comes to practices, and this little time here where they can take care of some school and kind of get caught up or just make sure they're on pace and working ahead even in those areas that are away from football, and knock that out so they can do what they love and not have any distractions. Thursday, Friday, we'll get back on the practice field, and Wednesday, we'll do some things as well. So, these guys need, the physical break as well. I think we're in an okay spot, when it comes to health, but you can always be better, and that's what a bye week gives you.
Flagship home of Alabama Crimson Tide football. A little bit of I appreciate Jackson for jumping in there for a couple of minutes. This place got very loud with Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams arriving, and as you could hear the fans celebrating their wide receiver and their quarterback. This is pretty electric when you look at the atmosphere. Jackson, thank you, man. Appreciate you jumping in there. And, the rain's not going to drive those Alabama fans away. Look at these guys getting autographs and photos, and I'll give you $5 for that. No, I'm just kidding.
I've got a couple buddies in line there.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They've been waiting
the line
for like
is
45
literally
minutes.
Okay, so we appreciate T-Mobile for allowing us out here, but man, it is literally wrapped around the building, down the block, back towards 15th Street. I mean, it's probably a good 2.5, 3 blocks. I don't know the number. I would say, I don't know. I mean, I'm not very good at estimating crowds, but gigantic. That's all I got to say. So we appreciate T-Mobile for allowing us to be here celebrating Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams. Let's continue with more phone calls. Jackson, just punch up who and introduce him. Is it Corey? Corey, is that next? Corey? Let's go to Corey. Corey, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Hey, Ryan. How you doing this afternoon?
I'm good.
I really enjoyed the game Saturday. I thought it was the kind of performance that we needed. When I say bounce back, just about a complete performance against Wisconsin, and I thought both lines of scrimmage were dominant, and it shows what it means when you have your offensive line put back together. I thought the defensive line was very disruptive in batting down passes, getting penetration, but the one thing that did kind of, and I'll get to this in good, bad, and ugly, was the run defense a little bit, but I thought that it was a very good performance. And one thing that I loved what Kalen DeBoer did, you didn't see this from Nick Saban. If there was a little bit of time,
aggressive.
Yes.
Well, but that's also, the players that he trusts too. I mean, that's the part when you look at it. I mean, that's the system that you're living in right now.
Well, that's what it takes to knock off big opponents like next week. I mean, if you have that opportunity, you take it. If that opportunity presents itself, you take it.
Sure.
But my good is that I'm going to give it to the offensive line. I mean, the best performance they've had all year. I thought Milroe and the running backs looked good. I thought that throw that Milroe threw to Jeremy Bernard in the back of the end zone was an NFL throw. I mean, there was nothing the defensive back could do. That was a perfect throw. My bad. Like I said, the run defense, I mean, it wasn't terrible, but you can't give up 141 yards to Georgia and expect to win. We got gashed a couple of times. We got to clean that up. The ugly, there wasn't really anything ugly about the game, but as far as the ugly, how in the world, now, this is South Carolina we're talking here, how in the world do you give up a 17-point lead and blow the game? But like we said, bad officiating in the SEC, like you talked about, has ruined a lot of games.
Well, and really that's Corey, I'm so glad you brought up the SEC officiating, because that's something that needs to be fixed. It needs to get fixed, right? You've got to be able to, it's too much for these players to you want the game called fairly, right? You want them to be able to call it fairly. And right now it's not. I mean, when I watched the Big Ten on Saturday against Wisconsin, that was a much cleaner game than it was.
But at the same time, when you watch that play that happened, there's no reason for the South Carolina player to push down Garrett Nussmeier, because Garrett Nussmeier was not going to make the tackle anyway. It's just like if you have a punt return or kick return, and there's no reason to do a block in the back because the player's not going to be involved in the play anyway, because that would have been an 11-point lead, and I don't think LSU was coming back from that, and it changed the game completely, because South Carolina went 3 and out, and it just sucked the air out of the Williams-Brice Stadium. But you give credit to LSU for coming back, but LSU is not a good team. I think we both can agree on that.
Good point. Well, I mean, and Brian Kelly's starting to make me eat my words, okay? Because I made the comment that I thought that he would win a championship this first 5 years. He's not been able to do that. So.
No. I know they got a couple of easy games with South Carolina and UCLA. I mean, South Alabama and UCLA. But I think Jackson Dart's going to shred that defense to pieces.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Hey, Corey, thank you for your phone call, man. Appreciate you as always.
Good talk to you, Ryan. Roll Tide.
All right, let's go to Corey, from Corey to Henry. Henry in Texas. Henry, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Well, good afternoon, Ryan. I'm not really sure what's going on with y'all because I just got off work, but sounds like you're out during an autograph session.
Well, no, it's not me. It's Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams, two All-Stars from the University of Alabama. Being the flagship home, we get an invitation to come by and see these guys, and that's where we're at. We're here broadcasting live. We're having some fun and having a great time. So a lot of fun to be able to celebrate these two All-Star players. And, hey, that's kind of something that NIL has been able to transition to us.
Well, sounds very nice. Hey, let me give you a good, bad, and ugly. I'm going to give you the good is the 32-point road win is always nice. The bad was actually not a lot of bad, but I will say I was disappointed. We had our first chance to see our field goal kicker that was supposed to be award-winning, and he missed his first field goal attempt. The ugly, I'm going to have to give that to my brother because he didn't make it over to Biloxi to place my bet, which cost me about $2,500 on that game.
Super cool. Yeah, I mean, you know, you mentioned Graham Nicholson. I think he's going to, and I'm having a hard time, Henry, this is loud. I mean, it's like I'm broadcasting. I guess for a minute, I'm doing play-by-play because there's a gigantic line. But going back to Graham Nicholson, I think it's worth going back and pointing out. He's going to be okay.
No, I'm sure he is, but I mean, it was like, I just wanted to see the first look at him, and that's what I got to see besides extra points. But I believe he's going to be fine.
Super cool. Super cool.
One last thing, something y'all were talking about last
talk to
week
me.
that I want to get off my chest real quick. You asked the question. You asked the question. I was going to mention it Friday, but I got sat down to eat, so I didn't really have time to talk. Is it okay to be 10-2? And I'm like, absolutely not. And not a single Alabama fan should even accept that. I don't even care if you make the playoffs going 10-2. That is like Auburn happy. That's Mississippi being happy winning 10 games. This is Alabama. We don't play to win 10 games and backdoor our way into the playoffs. We're going to get one of the top 4 seeds. I don't want 2 losses.
Well, I mean, the 12, I think we have to go through this first year to kind of calculate what it's going to be like because we think we know, but I don't think we really know. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like you step back a couple of minutes and you're like, okay, what does it take to get in? You know, does a 10-2 get in? Does a 9-3 get in? I think college football, judging on the first couple of weeks, I think they're going to beat everybody up so much that you're probably going to see some 9-3 teams back in. Now, everybody's got an opinion. You don't think so?
I don't care about the 9-3 team. I'm saying this right now. I don't think Alabama loses the game. I think
you may not.
I mean, it's only we had 2 15-0 teams during the 14 playoffs. They would only be 16-0, so they would only have to win one more game. than what they were previously doing, which this team, I just don't see it losing.
Well, if that's, well, I mean, it's easy, right? You're undefeated, and you feel very confident about it getting in.
Yes. I would think the number one seed, but it should be in a couple of home games.
Well, but you're not going to get a couple of home games. Because if you're number one seed...
That's only for the...
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. But either way, we're going to be the number one seed. After Georgia, awesome. I think we're going to be the number one team, and we'll stay there the rest of the year.
Yeah. So... Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you, Henry.
All right.
Right back to you.
Have a good day.
Thank you. So that's the topic of conversation when you look at it. And let's go to Karen in Tuscaloosa. Karen, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Hey, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. I hope you are as well.
I am. I'm about to actually get off the interstate, and I'm going to try to come by and say hello to you in person. I'm sure I won't be there in time to get in the line because it's too long. But are you going to be there till 6:30?
Say it one more time, Karen.
I said, are you going to be there till 6:30, or are you going to leave when the show's over at 6?
No, I'm going to stick around for a couple of minutes. Yeah, I want to be able to. Yeah.
All right. Well, I was going to come by and say hello to you in person. I haven't seen you in a while. And we don't get to see you.
Here's the thing, Karen. You might have to park at DCH because there's not a parking spot to be had. It is. The Alabama fans are off the wall crazy.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, no, I was calling to tell you that I got to go to Wisconsin to the game Saturday, and it was great. The Wisconsin fans were super nice and helpful, and the only bad thing about it is I was expecting some nice cool weather, and it was actually very hot at the game because they stuck us all in the upper deck. But the experience in Madison versus Austin 2 years ago, no comparison. Madison was great. It was just great being there with all the Alabama fans. A lot of people traveled to the game. As soon as they did their jump around to start the fourth quarter that they always do, they basically, left in a huge, the students left, the Wisconsin fans left, and pretty much we didn't have that many people left to sing Grandma Jam or two when the ball game was over. But it was great being at the game. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much.
I'm glad you had an awesome time.
Yes.
And when I first saw the game being announced, I was like, okay, this is one that I must go and attend, right? I want to be able to go and see that. And, once you get here, logistically, my Powerball numbers did not come up. So this currently inflation probably got my ticket to Wisconsin. So, I could not get there.
Booked my flight early on because the friend that I went with, we went to Chicago on Wednesday. We flew into Chicago, and I actually got my ticket round trip from Birmingham to Chicago for like $270. So it was, and it was a direct flight both ways. So I was pleased with that. So it was good, and we stayed on points in the hotel. So it was not a super, super expensive trip. So
super.
Anyway, but sounds like there's a lot of people there, and hopefully. You never underestimate, or maybe I shouldn't. But Alabama fans, we do a lot of remotes, but I must say this is probably the biggest one. But we've also never featured, the star quarterback and the star wide receiver. But this thing is literally. So we're about halfway down from Fresh Market. Okay, the line is literally. I don't want to just, Karen, you don't tell anybody, but I don't know if everybody's going to be able to get an autograph. They may be here till midnight if they do that. But it is an absolute jammed up crowd all the way to the back of the building, all the way in the back. And then it goes down and it loops back towards 15th Street. Okay.
Alabama fans they're excited. Why not? 3-0.
Oh, I know. I remember the first coaches show this year. when Jalen Milroe was the star, the guest athlete. It was packed. Now they didn't know, nobody knew he was going to be there, but when a lot of people found out he was there, it was a madhouse. So they definitely will draw the attraction. So I understand that. So that makes sense.
Well, thank you, Karen. Anyway. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Okay, you too, Ryan, and roll tide. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate everybody being patient with us this afternoon. We've had a lot of reaction, a lot of loud noise. Turn up the volume. Richard Gates from here at BMW of Tuscaloosa. We are amazing savings for every point for Crimson Tide scores. Save $50 on a new BMW all week long. You heard it right here. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Let's go to Ellis because I know Ellis is celebrating a birthday. Ellis, do I have to sing happy birthday to you? 60 years of age. Did I read that on Facebook?
Do what? Yeah, you don't have to.
Well, I am going to anyway. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. You're growing old. I mean, you're now qualified for senior citizen discount. Ellis, have an awesome day, man.
Yeah, you got AARP too. You know what?
Super, super cool, man. Appreciate you, Ellis. I'm out of here, man.
All right, roll tide, Ryan Fowler.
Roll tide. I want to thank our law enforcement officers, EMTs, firefighters, first responders, highway patrol. We remind you that we call this program The Game, and the only way that you can win the big game, the game of life, is to walk daily with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Good night, T-Town. I'll see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Appreciate T-Mobile for allowing me to come out and be a part of this great celebration right here on Tide 100.9. Good night, T-Town.